If you've been following me for the past half year or so, you probably know that I'm going to be pivoting, or I am in the midst of pivoting from nonfiction writing to fiction writing, and more importantly in the horror genre. And of course, I've always got my eyes out for any indie authors that are absolutely crushing it, and this is where it brings me to Christine M. Germain. She is an award-winning horror author, and more recently, she just added another part to her Brother's Curse Saga series and Christopher's Curse. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity to sit down, pick her brain about what she is doing over on Instagram that's bringing her such a large following. I mean, gosh, nearly 26,000 followers. What? I mean, there has to be something that she's doing right. And we're going to find out all those details in today's interview. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get on into it. All right, Christine, you and I were already talking before this. We've already chatted it up for easily about 13 minutes. I find you super fascinating. And, you know, you're like, no, I've been following you since 2018. And I'm like,
right?
I've been following you for a while on Instagram, and you just have absolutely crushed it with your whole brand as a horror author. What's your secret?
Thank you. Well, my secret is my book.
Okay.
If it wasn't for the book that I wrote, I wouldn't be able to market the way that I'm marketing it.
Yeah.
And so I have the Brother's Curse to thank for that.
You're probably selling yourself short on this one. So I'm going to see if I can bring this out in you. Obviously, you wrote great content, but from a marketing standpoint, how are you able to build that Instagram following so large? And one of the things I noticed is like your posts don't have just like 2 or 3 likes on it. There's a ton of engagement on it. So what's the secret right there to that?
I think with that is that I try to also meet other people that are a huge horror fan. I think that's too, is you're trying to find your audience, especially people who love horror, because everyone who reads books, you know, we don't read the same thing. So everybody is like stuck in their own genre. So I always try to look for more people who are into anything that's supernatural, that's horror movies, horror books. And then I pretty much, you know, get into conversation with them. I get to know them. I always like to get to know people before, I get to know people, and I guess from that and with my personality and based on my content, they just kind of like, we just vibe off of each other. And then I just, you know, gain that kind of crowd. And just a lot of people find me from sponsoring. I do a lot of sponsoring on Instagram, which is really big. I do 5-day sponsoring with all of my books, any new content that I come out with, video trailers. And a lot of people kind of like steer, you know, to that. They really like that.
Interesting.
So that helps.
Tell me a little bit more about the sponsoring aspect of things. That's got me intrigued. By the way, I still want to talk about the craft of horror writing because, which by the way, you say horror so much better than I do, because everybody thinks I'm saying
horror?
Think I'm saying like prostitute or something like that. I promise you it's horror. I need to horror. Yeah, you sound really good when you do it. But what does that sponsorship look like then for you?
Well, when I first started doing it, I had to kind of play around with it. So with the sponsoring, they give you, you can sponsor for any amount of days, X amount of dollars. Sometimes you can start one day for just $1.
Okay.
And it can actually build up to maybe getting, I remember I got about 50 followers just based off of having one day and sponsoring one video that I did. And then I would go up. I would do $2 for 2 days, and then, you know, move it up to maybe $10, 10 days. And I found it to be that if you did it for maybe $10 or $15 for maybe like a stretch of 10 days, 15 days, you can get at like over 100 followers and maybe like 1,000 like views. I started sponsoring a video that I was only at maybe 2,000 views. And within 2 weeks, I had 11K on that video.
Wow.
Yeah.
And have you seen any type of return from people that become new followers of yours on Instagram to becoming book buyers? I've
had a few actually that actually found me from my page and from my marketing,
Mm-hmm.
and they would go to my page and they would actually let me know, hey, I just picked up your book. And then there's people that I realized from gaining that 11K, I was selling a really good amount of books in the past 2 weeks. Like every day I would sell like 3 Kindles
Yeah.
and 3 paperbacks or a hardcover. So
Mm-hmm.
I started seeing more sales depending on what content you post as well. So it's all about the content that you sponsor.
What do you
And then once, yeah.
go ahead? I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying once you find that niche, once you find that content
Mm-hmm.
that you know that is going to bring higher audience, that's the one that you kind of keep marketing, because that's what I was doing and that's
So
what
you just
happened.
go back into the well and you find that audience,
Mhm.
you stick with that audience. It sounds
Mhm.
to me like your budget's not really high. What's on average? How much are
Mm-mm.
you spending to sponsor a post?
I would say within like with one post, I can spend like maybe $5. Within
Oh,
like a whole month, I would be spending maybe $70, which is not bad. It's still
huh.
under $100,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I'm still selling books. I'm gaining followers because you
Yeah.
always have to check that. You check the statistics
Hmm.
on how many followers you're getting,
Yeah.
how many views you're getting with that content. If it doesn't work, that's fine. You can always jump to another
Hmm.
content. You can try it out. Like I said, $1 for one day. You don't have to jump into like $5, $10 if you can't afford it.
Yeah.
$1 one day and see how it goes. And what I would say too is if you do like video, just do the post, because reels, you can't do sponsors on reels. You can
Interesting.
only do them on posts. Yeah.
Huh. What about like any type of visual things, like say for instance like a GIF of some sort, or even like a shorter form video that, let's say, it's like 5 to 10 seconds long?
I would say just do it as a post.
Okay. And so that post can still be
Yeah.
promoted. What have you found to be the most
Hmm.
successful of all your posts so far on Instagram that you've sponsored?
My illustrations, as you can see, it's on my
Yeah,
t-shirt.
yeah, yeah.
So
It
yeah.
always grabs my attention for sure. I usually stop the scroll on every single one of those, and especially when there's like a ton of engagement. So it's anytime you're
Hmm.
showing the graphics to that, because I know sometimes you've put in like characters and you've talked about the
Hmm.
character and their profiles and list that. I think that's so
Hmm.
cool to see that you're able to really start to build the buzz around that. So how many books deep are you
Hmm.
into your brand right now?
Right now, I have book
Hmm.
one and book two, the
Yeah.
sequel. I am ready to launch book three, the
Hmm.
trilogy, this summer. And I also have a fourth book, which is the final conclusion of the series.
Yeah.
But I also have other projects after that, some standalone books that I'm looking forward to, digging
Are
in.
you happy to part ways with this particular universe, this series?
No. I'm not. I'm on book four
Yeah.
and I can't stop crying. It's really
Yeah.
sad when you say goodbye to like your characters, but I don't feel like I'm saying goodbye to them. Like I feel like, okay, once I'm done with the series, I definitely want to do something with them because my goal is to get it into
Mhm.
mainstream. But it's still a sad thought that, after the fourth book, I won't be writing them. But I mean, it's been a great ride so far.
And so that's 4 full-length novels when it's all said and done, then, right?
Yeah,
Wow.
they are.
So that is a lot invested in it. Do you anticipate, will you build this out kind of like what Stephen King does, where you have this entire universe and there is some overlap?
Yes, I would love that. That has been a long time goal since I was a teenager. Was to turn this story into, like I said, mainstream media and a whole like universe of it, where it's kind of like a Harry Potter in a
Yeah.
way. I want to become like the next J.K. Rowling of horror. That's just I want to get there.
That's so awesome. That's a good goal though. I mean, you can't beat that for sure. I want to
No.
walk you back. Let's say back to like 2018 when you were just starting to
Hmm.
break into the business and such. What
Hmm.
was your inspiration into becoming an author? Like, was there just like one day you were at your job and you were like, screw this, I'm going to become an author? Or was it more of like you woke up out of a dead sleep and had an awesome idea?
Well, this didn't even start in 2018. This started in 1992.
Wow.
This is when I came up with the series. I was 11 years
Yeah.
old, and I was watching the Stephen King movie Sleepwalkers, and I got the idea for the Brothers Curse, and I started writing it in 1993. I was 12 years old. I was a sixth grader when I started writing this book.
Sleepwalkers. That's a great one. Yeah. There's good reason why you and I get along just fine because Stephen King is the goat, of course, and horror.
Yes.
Fantastic. I got turned on through Tommy Knockers, but enough about me. Like let's go back over to when you became inspired. You had this. So did you have it simmering in the background, or was it one of those cases that you came back around to it into the 2000s?
I came back to it.
Okay.
I had a few times that I wanted to dip my toes in it, but then I had some writer's block, which we all have. It's
Yeah.
okay to have it. I had it for 20 years. It's okay. But in 2018, I was at work. I'm a nurse. So I was at work and I was like, I really want to try to rewrite this book because I lost it in Hurricane Sandy, by the way. I lost the first notebook that I wrote of the book.
No,
Yeah.
and you had to start from scratch. Oh, that's horrible.
With only what I remembered. So I sat at work and I said, how would I start this book? And I said, well, if I can watch it on the big screen, what's the first scene that I would see? And from there, that's how I started writing it. So I'm more of like a visionary because I study film. I was like a screenwriter, so I went to school for it. So to me, I looked at it as a movie. And that's how I started writing it. And it has a lot of dialogue and stuff. But yeah, once I started, I just didn't stop.
Yeah.
So when I started doing the book, I actually put it up on Wattpad.
Oh, really?
You heard of?
Did you have any
Yes,
success
I
there at
did.
all?
I had a lot of success. I had hundreds of readers. I
Wow.
had hundreds of beta readers. Yeah.
And so did these readers follow you as soon as you went and published the work?
Here's the thing. When I started in 2018 with the first book and I carried on, I still had a very large audience. But what happened is that when I was done with book three in 2019, no, actually 2020, in the beginning of 2020, a lot of my audience actually left the site. So
Oh,
I had, yeah, I know. And just a few were still around and they actually did pick up the book. They still follow me on Instagram. But, look, I was really happy with publishing my book weekly, consistently on Wattpad because that audience actually helped me build this book to what it
yeah.
is because I got constructive criticism and, feedback, and it really helped me develop my characters even more. So I really like that app. It helped a lot.
That's really cool. So it's almost the same approach I'm taking right now going into Kindle Vella, where it's just one episode at a time. And
Yeah.
wow, this is uncanny because I feel like we're walking almost the same path because I'm definitely headed towards your
Right?
direction of doing novels and series. I think it's just
I think you're
brilliant.
going to have fun with it. I think
Yeah.
you're going to have fun with it because when you publish each chapter and then you have like this audience that you're starting to build. When I first went on Wattpad and I had like 2 followers and then I met this one follower and everybody loved this guy. I'm telling you, because of him, he was sending my profile to other friends on their DMs and they started following
Yeah.
me. And I started entering these little contests and he used to have all his friends vote for me. I won a bunch of little awards on Wattpad for horror. Like, yeah, it was a lot. And
Wow.
because of all these, and I was engaging. And I think that also helps me with my content on Instagram when I started doing segments called Authors to Readers, where I would have a one-on-one conversation with one of my readers after they finish reading my books. And that all stemmed from Wattpad because I used to have one-on-one conversations with my readers as they were reading my chapters. So it definitely helps as far as engaging with your audience. And that's something that means a lot to me. That's something I strive for is to get to know my audience. And I like to see the book through their eyes.
That's really cool. You're keeping yourself very open-minded to everybody's perspective. But at what point do you filter out some of what you're hearing? Because obviously everybody's got an opinion, but not all
Yeah,
of them are going to align with your
are good.
vision. So what's your vetting process like?
I read reviews and sometimes I'll go back to the novel. Like I just went back to the novel like about a month ago,
Yeah.
because I did have a reader point something out, but I read it and I actually saw it. But that, to me, when I saw that, I said, okay, I can tone that down a little bit, which is what I did. I went back and I kind of fixed it up and then had it reformatted. But as far as that, I believe that everyone has their own opinions to a story.
Hmm.
And everybody's going to have their own take. Not everyone is going to like it, or everyone's going to feel this way about a character like somebody else feels about the character.
Yeah.
So I don't really take too much of that in, but I love to hear their thoughts about it. But when it comes down to what this story is about, I still stick with what I believe in, because
Yeah.
it's how I felt when I wrote the book. So it's going to stay the way that it is, because I want my book to be as original and as authentic as it possibly can.
So smart. How are you getting your beta readers right now?
Oh, well, that is a hard thing.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. It is not
Yeah.
easy finding a large audience now that I have ventured off into Instagram or trying to find some on
Hmm.
Twitter or Facebook. And I feel that, patience is the key, because nothing happens overnight.
Hmm.
So it's just a lot of patience I need to have. But I have met bookstagrammers on Instagram, a lot of them
Okay.
that do support indie authors, that do read horror. So I have, had the honor of meeting some of them that have read my book, have posted, they like to decorate books and stuff, which is really nice.
Yeah.
I like that also. And a lot of them that have read my book and are now avid readers and loyal readers to the series, I have also gifted them these Brothers Curse t-shirts, just
Nice.
as a thank you. I try to do also giveaways, so more people, a lot of the bookstagrammers that I have met that have read my series, they share. So that's really good that they share the book to their stories and stuff, however they can get the word out. So I'm still working on that, because I have a long way to go when it comes to building that large tribe that I'm looking for, like I did on Wattpad.
Yeah. I'm glad you're very
Yeah.
realistic about it. That's really cool hearing that, you're not just taking any Tom, Dick, or Harry off the street. You're looking for
Hmm.
people who are genuinely interested in your genre then.
Hmm.
So how do you
Hmm.
track the advice and feedback that people give? Do you just kind of put this over like in a notepad somewhere else, or do you implement it right away inside your manuscript?
I usually implement it right away. I
Okay.
don't write anything down. Yeah, I usually just keep it up here, and it's not too much of anything. I
Hmm.
think like three readers had mentioned that when the characters are speaking their dialogue, they tend to say each other's names a little bit too much. They said that might seem unrealistic. I saw that, so I kind of just, I mean, look, someone said that when I have a conversation with my friend, I don't say their name, but I do. I'm like, hey, Dale, it's like, hey, like
Yeah.
sometimes I just say their name,
Yeah.
So everybody has their own opinions towards stuff. But I did go back and I said, ooh, this is a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Let me kind of take that back, take that out a little bit. And I did. And then I decided to just fix the formatting in the book, because I didn't really like it. So I said, oh, let's just go for the gusto. And I just changed that around. But yeah, I mean, besides
Hmm.
that, yeah, I think now the book is exactly where it's supposed to be. Once somebody says that and they point that out, then I'm like, if it's one person, okay. If it's two, if it's three, we're gonna have to switch something up.
Right, right. I think the old saying goes where it's like if one person tells you that you're a horse, they're crazy. If two people tell you you're a horse, maybe they're onto something. Three people say you're a horse, saddle up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's usually like the phrase I'd like to go back to. This is so fascinating, and I really would love to. Maybe in a future date we can get together and talk more about the craft of writing, because I
Oh,
had so
sure.
much more that I wanted to talk about. A couple more questions though. One would be is what is the device that you like to do to create terror in your readers, to create fear?
Um, for me, I like to create a scenery where, um, usually I depict a scene where it's like my worst nightmare. So let's say, for instance, let's say take something out of a scene where somebody just so accidentally burns in their car? You know, who wants to burn in their car?
Yeah.
You know, so let's say I put a scene like that and I have someone that message me and say, hey, I'm at a gas station right now and I just thought about that scene in your book and now I just got out of my car. Because you relate with a gas station and gas and fire. I had somebody say that. They actually messaged me while they were sitting in the car and they said, you know what, I'm going to get out of my car right now because of that scene. Thank you very much. I cannot sit in a car near gasoline. So that's how you know, like, you inflicted some kind of
Yeah.
fear in them when you do something like that. So I always base it on your worst nightmare, like your
Yeah.
worst fear, you know, coming to life, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes my mom thinks about it and she's like, where do you come up with these things, like children being buried under the concrete, you know? And you hear screams of children. And I had a friend that said, now I'm going to look on the ground, the concrete ground, every time I'm walking to see if I see a face, like things like that. You know,
Yeah.
I just love little like mechanisms like that when I add to my book. It's funny.
Nice. Well, we have blasted through the time so fast. I like to finish up every one of these podcasts with one question, and that is, what advice do you have for aspiring authors and self-publishers?
Oh boy. Well, you know, first, don't self doubt yourself. You know, anytime you're thinking about doing something, especially publishing a book or writing a book, you know, you kind of like take a step back and, you know, think to yourself, can I really do it? And to me, I say, don't overthink and don't second guess yourself. Just do it. If it's something that it's your passion and it's something that you love and you love to tell stories, then tell them. Don't be scared to put yourself out there, because I think the best thing about being a writer and an author is being vulnerable. And I think that if you can let yourself go and put yourself out there, regardless of, you know, anything, what anyone says, trust me, you're gonna make it one day. You know, you just have to keep going, pushing forward, consistency, never stopping, and the world is in your hands. Just keep going.
Big special thanks to Christine. Thank you so much for taking some time out your day to spend a little bit of time with us to talk a little bit about our favorite thing in writing and self-publishing. Folks, if you found some great value, make sure that you look up Christine M. Germain over on Instagram. She puts out some amazing examples of posts that work and helps build out her brand and her awareness and doesn't feel too, I don't know, salesy. That's what a lot of people are so afraid of. And you can clearly see that what she's doing is working. So in the meantime, I will catch up with you guys next week when we speak with the illustrious Joanna Penn.